Shalom. Here we are once again in the message from the wisdom of Torah. And we are studying this week the portion of Eikev, which is in the book of Deuteronomy. It's the third portion in the book. It is from the middle of chapter 7 going through almost to the end of chapter 11. And we're still in the speech, the second speech, that Moshe, is talking to the people before separating from them, before they're entering the land of Israel. He's not going to be entering. And he's telling them various different messages for the future generations. And in this week's portion, we have two very well-known descriptions of the land of Israel that Moses tells the people. In chapter 8, in the portion we have in verse 8, chapter 8, verse 8, Eretz chita useora, vegefen uteina verimon, Eretz zeit shemen udvash. These are known as the 7 kinds of fruits that the land of Israel is blessed with. They are the land of wheat and barley, grapevine and fig and pomegranate, a land whose rocks are iron and from whose mountains are shall new copper, but the main message is a land of olive and honey. So we have the 7 species: the fig, the date, the grape, the wheat, the barley. And another quite well-known description of the land of Israel is towards the end of the portion of the Torah. I'm talking about chapter 11. We have in verse 9, Eretz zavat chalav udvash, a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, we can of course say these are symbolistic blessings of the land with wheat and barley and grapes and olives and figs and dates, and the land flourishing with milk and honey. But if we want to learn the Torah a little more deeply, we'll want to understand why, or what is the difference between these two descriptions, and why in one time Moses uses the first description, praising the fruits of the land, and in the other he's blessing the land of flourishing with milk and honey, as in chapter 11, verse 9. In order to understand that, we'll have to read the verses that are around the description. And actually, in both times, the verses begin the same way. I'm talking about chapter 8, verse 6, as a matter of fact, begin in verse 6. Veshamarta et mitzvot Adonai, Elohecha, lalechet bidrachav uliyir'aoto. You shall observe God's commandments, to go in His way and to fear Him. Ki Adonai Elohecha mevi'acha el eretz tova. God is bringing you to a good land. Eretz nachalei mayim, a land with rivers. Ayanot uteomot yotzim babik'a uvahar. We have in the mountains, in the land of Israel, we have springs and deep wells. Eretz chita useora, vegefen uteina verimon. A land of wheat and barley, of grape, fig, and pomegranate. Eretz zeit shemen udvash, a land with olive oil and honey. Eretz asher lo b'miskenut tochal balechem, the land which you will eat the bread of it, not out of a situation of failing as a poor man who needs pity. Lo tichsar kolba, you shall not lack anything in it. Eretz asher avaneha barzel, meharareha tachtzov nechoshet. It's a land with many, many natural treasures. Copper, iron. Ve'achalta ve'savata, uverachta et Adonai Elohecha ala haaretz hatova asher natan lach. You shall eat And always not forget God. You shall bless God for the good land He has given you. In the other part, in chapter 11, it begins the same way. Just like we saw there, V'shamarta et mitzvot Adonai Elohecha. Here we have Ushmartem et kol ha-mitzvah. And you shall observe the entire commandment that I am commanding you today. And why? Leman techzeku. You shall come, uvatem v'irishtem et haaretz, and you occupy the land which you are crossing. Asher atem ovrim shama l'rishta. Uleman tarichun yamim al ha'adama, and you should prolong your days on the land, which the Lord God has sworn to your forefathers. Asher nishba Adonai la'avotechem, latet lahem ulezaram eretz zavat chalav udvash. A land flourishing, flowing with milk and honey. Ki haaretz asher ata ba shama l'rishta, the land that you are coming to. Lo ki eretz Mitzrayim, it is not like Egypt. Asher yitzatem misham, asher tizra et zaracha v'ishkita beraglecha ki gan hayarak. It is not like the land of Egypt in which you came out of, which you would sow your seeds and water it by the foot like a vegetable garden. We see that the comparison is between two things. The land of Israel is compared. In the beginning, in chapter 8, in the beginning of our portion, is compared to the land of the desert. In the land of the desert, the land had nothing. You had to pray from God for bread, and there was a miracle, and bread came from heaven. You had to pray from God for water, and there was a miracle, and the water came out of the stones, the rock. The land of Israel is not that kind of a land. The bread does not come from heaven. It comes from the land. The water does not come from a stone. It's not a land of miracles. It's a land of natural blessing. You'll have water in the small rivers that there are in the land. The land of Israel, compared to the desert, is a land which the fruits come out of the land. You'll have to work to get it. But when you work and get it, you'll have to remember. Hishamer lecha pen tishkach et Adonai Elohecha. Beware, take care that you shall never forget God. How do you do that? When you work and you manage to grow the various different fruits, you bless God. You bless God and you don't forget Him, thinking that everything that's coming out of your land is by yourself. He who gave bread from heaven is the one who gives bread from the land. This is the land of Eretz Chita Useora, a land blessed with wheat and barley, with fruits, various different fruits, olives and pomegranates and grapes and figs and dates. But it all comes out of the land. So when Moses is comparing the land of Israel to the desert, he talks about the rivers in the mountains, the natural treasures of iron and copper, and he talks about the water. But in the end of the portion, in chapter 11, Moses is not comparing the land of Israel to the desert. He is comparing, as it says in verse 10, Ki ha'aretz asher ata ba shama l'rishta, the land that you are coming to inherit, to take possession of. Lo ke'eretz Mitzrayim. It's not like Egypt. What is the difference? In Egypt, there is a big river. No river in Israel can be compared to the river of the Nile. No river in Israel can be compared to this big river. So when you're praising the land of Israel, comparing it to Egypt, he's not going to talk about the small rivers that are in the mountains. He's not going to talk about the vegetables, because in Egypt, you have a river which waters your vegetables. But he is going to talk about the rain coming from heaven. And due to this rain coming from heaven, you can be blessed with honey and milk. The honey and the milk come from the animals who will walk around in the various different forests. In the land of Israel, there are many forests. In the land of Egypt, there aren't forests. What grows is what you water. Because the water comes from that one big Nile. There are no small little rivers. There's the one big Nile, and there's not an everlasting rain that the land is blessed with. So in comparing to Egypt, we speak about the animals who can feed themselves from the land all over and give you a blessing with milk and honey. So when Moses compares the Torah, Moses compares the land to the desert, he talks about a land of fruits and vegetables growing. He talks about small little rivers all over, small little wadis all over the land. Due to these wadis, we can have forests. But when he compares it to the desert, the comparison talks about what grows. In the desert, you don't have trees. You don't have wheat and barley. There you have to live on miracles. When he compares it to the Nile, when he compares it to Egypt, he talks about the rain. In Egypt, there's no rain. So there are two dramatical differences where the land of Israel is in the middle. It's not like the desert, where there's nothing growing. It's not like Egypt, which is a land flourishing as if with trees, but it's like something in the middle. It's not on the extremes. It's not a land where you eat from miracles, and it's not a land where you always have a Nile. And why is that? Because the land of Israel is the land where when you work in the land, you understand that you have to make your own effort, but you also have to pray to God that you should be blessed with rain. And therefore, the land of Israel is Eretz Asher Adonai Elohecha Doresh Ota Tamid. You'll always find God's presence. Einei Adonai Elohecha Ba, God's eyes, Mereshit Hashana V'ad Achrit Shana. So that you should be communicating with God. The land of Israel's blessing is the fact that it has natural sources, but they're not eternal. It's not a big Nile where you're disconnected from God, and it's land where the animals can live around and bless you with milk and honey. It's a land with natural trees that don't need always to be near the Nile, so it's a land that is not extreme as the desert, and it's not as extreme as Egypt. It's in the middle. It is both a land blessed with wheat and barley and fruits and small wadis, and it's also a land blessed with rain. And this is the blessing of the land of Israel. Through the land of Israel, if you always bless God for the beautiful land that He has given us, and you don't forget God at all times, through the land of Israel, you will be praised for long and long generations. Shabbat Shalom.